Appreciate it. All right, joining me now to talk more about these developments is Congresswoman Sara Jacobs. She is a Democrat from California and a member of the House Foreign Affairs and Armed Services Committees. Congresswoman, great to see you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
So Secretary Noem continues to stand by her comments that this Minneapolis shooting was a case of domestic terrorism. The FBI has chosen not to share the evidence in this case with Minnesota state and local authorities, those investigators. Do you trust the federal government when it comes to the handling of this investigation and what the potential outcome might be?
Absolutely not. I mean, I have seen all the same videos that you and everyone watching has seen. And to me, it seems very clear that this woman was trying to get away. You know, her last words were, "I'm not mad at you." And if the administration is so sure of their account of events, then they should welcome an independent investigation because the evidence would show that. But I think they're telling on themselves by not allowing it because they know that what they're saying is completely wrong and made up and preposterous, really. And, you know, I'm really concerned that Kristi Noem is blatantly lying about this young mother who's a year older than me, who had stuffed animals in her car. And that's why I think she needs to resign or be impeached. She has no regard for human life or the rule of law.
Noem says, you know, she's also sending hundreds more custom officers to the Minneapolis area in the coming days. California experienced a very similar ICE crackdown and ICE protests last year. What are your concerns about what could potentially transpire in Minneapolis or, quite frankly, across the country?
I'm incredibly concerned. First of all, I think ICE, is showing that they have not trained their officers well, given by the actions of this officer in Minneapolis. And we know that they are hiring hundreds more officers with the money from the one big ugly bill. And what kind of vetting, what kind of training are these officers going to get? We also know that the majority of people that they are picking up are not criminals, not the hardened criminals that Donald Trump promised to go after. They're people who are going to work, who are trying to contribute to our society. You know, I represent San Diego, a border community, and we've seen ICE go after people when they're at their green card interviews, when they're literally going through the legal process, when they're at their places of work, literally trying to work and contribute to our economy. Not to mention the fact that when you talk about the drug trade and fentanyl and all of these things that Donald Trump claims he's addressing, well, 90% of fentanyl actually comes across the border through legal ports of entry, which is where we should have CBP be focused on instead of deploying them to cities all across the country.
One of your House Democratic colleagues from Minnesota is urging people to take videos of interactions with ICE and customs officers to help bring transparency and accountability. Listen to what she said.
I think it is really important for Americans to record, to create the level of accountability and transparency that we need. What we have seen in Minneapolis is ICE agents oftentimes jumping out of their cars. These are unmarked cars. Oftentimes they're wearing a mask. They're approaching, running towards cars. They're pulling people out of those cars. Oftentimes these people are citizens.
Do you agree that this could be an important tool?
Absolutely. We know that this administration is blatantly lying about what happened even when there's video. So it's more important than ever that we are documenting and, taking video of all of these incidents. I think one thing that's important to note is that ICE doesn't have a local law enforcement mandate. They are actually not allowed to just stop cars. They are only allowed to deal with immigration enforcement. And so the idea that they're stopping cars, pulling U.S. citizens out, we absolutely need to be documenting that as much as possible so that when we are back in the majority, we can hold them accountable.
All right. Let me shift gears now to Iran. Today, President Trump says he is weighing a range of military options in Iran due to the violent crackdown on protests in that country. I mean, this is also coming just days after he ordered military strikes on Venezuela, captured President Maduro, and of course, after now this deadly incident we were just talking about there in Minnesota. How are you seeing this? Are you seeing hypocrisy here? Or are you seeing this as constructive and instructive? What?
I think it's two sides of the same coin, which is that Donald Trump and his administration have absolutely no respect for the rule of law, both domestically and internationally. And he thinks he can do whatever he wants with impunity, whether that's literally kidnapping a world leader without any sort of congressional approval, any sort of congressional notification, or what he's doing domestically, even as you are seeing court order after court order say that that is not allowed. And so, I'm very concerned about what he might do in Iran. Look, the Iranian people have a right to make their voices heard. They have a right to protest, and they have a right to choose their own government. And what their regime is doing against them is horrible. But we should not be going in with our military. That's only going to make things worse. First of all, we'll have no control over what happens next. And we know that regime change can create vacuums and chaos, and no guarantee you'll get a better leader on the other side. But also, it could serve to discredit the protesters. And the most important thing is that the protesters maintain their credibility with the Iranian people, because only the Iranian people should be deciding who governs them.
Okay, and then on the affordable health care, matters, the subsidies, which have expired and face an uphill battle of passing the House and Senate. What do you say to your Senate Democratic colleagues who allowed the government to be reopened with the promise, it was a condition, right, that there would be also a vote on these Obamacare subsidies?
Look, I think we in the House always knew that that promise was a false promise. I am glad that 17 of my Republican colleagues worked with us to be able to pass a 3-year extension in the House. I think it's incredibly important that the Senate does the same thing. So many folks across the country are already dealing with the chaos and uncertainty of having these tax credits expire. And frankly, Republicans had a year to deal with this. And the fact that we're even in this position trying to fix this after they've already expired is, I think, a real testament to the fact that Republicans have no real plan on healthcare and are not actually focused on bringing people's costs down.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Congresswoman Sara Jacobs, thanks so much.